Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Cornelia Audrey. I don't know why I flipped my hair. My name is Cornelia, and I make videos all about living the life of an entrepreneur, building a candle business, and some travel and adventure content mixed in there, focusing on different revenue streams and how I make money in those revenue streams. And I love to take you along on weekly wellness journeys as well, because I love all things wellness. I love all things living your best life. So if you like that kind of content, please hit the subscribe button. I'd love to see you here every week. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about my step-by-step candle making process, which I have been asked for quite a few times. So I'm going to get that to you. Now I know there's videos like this all over YouTube, so this is not the first one, but hopefully my insights will be helpful for you, and you can see how somebody else does it. I learned a lot from YouTube when I first started out, and then obviously I had to tailor the process to myself and what worked for me. So thanks for watching, and let's dive right in. I don't want to waste any time. I'm going to take you into my studio where I make my candles, which is our garage. It's not anything fancy, and I'm going to show you the process. So let's go.
Okay, so the first step is prepping your wax. I bought a cheap scale on Amazon and it's been awesome so far. I'll link it below. It does the trick. It's nothing fancy, but it works. You must first set the measurement to pounds. Make sure you tare it with your pot on the scale and set it at 0. This just means that the scale will now only weigh the wax that is added, not the pot weight itself. Then I scoop out the wax. I typically just do 3 pounds at a time. That's what fits in my pot, and I've gotten my formula down pat with that size. From there, I set my pot in my double boiler and wait.
I'm going to interrupt the process really quickly here just to state that I do use a double boiler when making my candles. I literally bought a used pot from Value Village, and then I stick my wax melter pots in that with some water, and I put it on a camping stove, and that is all I use. That setup cost me $50. It was cheap, but it's very slow. It can take over an hour and a half to make the wax the temperature that I need it to be when I put in 3 pounds of wax. So I definitely want to buy something that's more high tech, that melts the wax faster, but that costs upwards of $300, and I just didn't want to spend my money on that right away. When my system works, it just takes longer. So I like to do other things while the wax is melting so that I'm not wasting my time, and that usually really helps.
While the wax is melting, I prep the jars. I lay out the scents I'll be pouring that day and make sure they're sitting on top of lots of protection, usually piles of newspaper. I try to avoid getting our garage covered in wax. Then I set the wicks. It's pretty simple. Wood wicks versus cotton wicks are a bit different, but the process is the same. The only thing I struggle with is making them 100% centered in the jar. 90% of the time they're fine, but sometimes I have to just keep a candle for myself because it isn't centered, and I'm not going to sell that, obviously. It's on my to-do list to buy a wick centering tool. I found one on Etsy that I want to buy. I just haven't gotten around to it, and my eye is pretty good. Like I said, most of the time it's totally fine. Moving on to step 3. At this point, my wax should almost be hot enough, so I pour the fragrance. When I first started, I did 1 ounce of fragrance to 1 pound of wax, which worked, but my candles weren't overly strong. They had a great cold throw, but the hot throw wasn't as potent, enough for my liking that I wanted it to be. So I changed things up a bit, and now I just do about under 1.5 an ounce of fragrance to every pound of wax. More like 1.3 ounces, I would say, per pound of wax, and this seems to be working very well for me. I think there are a lot of formulas online you could follow, but this is the one that works for me, and I am using organic soy wax. Soy wax has a different hot and cold throw versus, let's say, paraffin wax or beeswax or coconut wax. They're all going to be different, so make sure to do your own research. Step 4, then I'll go back and check the wax temperature. Once it hits 165 Fahrenheit, it's ready to be mixed with the fragrance. Most people will say let the wax hit 180. This particular wax I'm using, the manufacturers actually suggest 165 Fahrenheit, so that's what I follow. I used to bring the temperature all the way up to 180 Fahrenheit, but I feel like it's better to listen to what the product recommendations are. And so that's what I've chosen to do, and it seems to be working great. Then I add my fragrance and stir it for up to 2 minutes. And then you wait again. At this point, we're on to step 5. I let the wax cool down from 165 down to all the way between, honestly, anywhere between like 120 and 130 Fahrenheit. I think like the colder it gets, the smoother the tops are going to be, but mostly like my wax that I do buy has very smooth tops, so I don't worry about that too much. As long as I'm in that 120 to 130 range, I'm happy. And then it's time to pour. This part is pretty self-explanatory. At that point, after I've poured, I let the wax harden in the jars, and then it's time to trim the wicks and add the label. As you can see here in step 6, I am trimming wicks. Cotton wicks are super easy to cut, like so easy, they just go like fast. Wood wicks are a bit harder, it just depends on how thick they are. I tried using wick cutters at the start, but they weren't strong enough, so now I just use my boyfriend's Milwaukee scissors, and they're honestly amazing. The wicks that I was trimming, that I've been using up until this point, were quite thick, and I'm noticing they're a little bit harder to start sometimes. So I bought this new style of wick that's still wood, but it's a lot thinner. So I'm excited to see how these ones perform over the spring and summer. They're also so much easier to cut. And then step 7 is the final step. Labeling. Well, labeling and cleaning up, I would say, is the final step. So I order my labels from Jukebox Print. I could print them at home, I suppose, as I do have a printer, but the quality of these ones, honestly, and the ease of it is really worth it for me. You've got to be really careful with labels as well, making sure everyone is centered and looks polished. So I love that, you know, that this Jukebox stickers arrive for me, you know, ready to go. I peel them, and then obviously this part does take a little bit longer because I have to be very precise in how I put them on, but I'm super happy with the finished product. So there you have it, a fully complete candle. I typically let my candles sit for 7 to 10 days before selling them, as that's the recommended cure time, just so the wax and fragrance have enough time to sit and perfectly meld together.
So that wraps up my step-by-step candle making process. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. How do you make your candles? Do you use soy wax? Do you use other types of wax? I think soy wax really makes a big difference in how candle making is done. I think the hot versus cold throw is a tricky thing. I think just how much the wax like blends in with the fragrance really is different with soy. So I'd love to hear your opinions on that, but I hope you found this video helpful. And I do try to sprinkle in candle content like as often as I can, because people seem to really like that. So if you are new to my channel, I'm actually doing a 12-week wellness series that I've been putting out every week for the last like 7 weeks now. So those come out. I'll link the one up here just so you could click on that. But then I also do a lot of videos of like renovating my century-old home and traveling, because I love to do that, and just like day in the life, week in the life videos. So please follow along. I love making videos for all of you, and I look forward to building this community. So thanks so much. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.